When most people think about missing persons cases, they often imagine large cities, crowded highways, or places where someone can easily disappear into a sea of strangers. But some of the most troubling cases happen in small towns where everyone seems to know everyone, where familiar faces become part of the landscape, and where the sudden absence of a single person leaves an entire community asking questions. Tonight, we're traveling to Southwest Arkansas, a region connected by winding highways, small-town traditions, and families who have spent years searching for answers. At the center of this story is Destinee Faith Bruce, a 30-year-old woman who disappeared from Hope, Arkansas in August of 2025. But as we'll explore, Destinee's disappearance is not the only case that continues to haunt this corner of the state. For years, families in Hope and nearby Prescott have waited for answers about women who seemingly vanished without a trace. While there is no evidence connecting these cases, the similarities are impossible to ignore. Each disappearance left behind unanswered questions, devastated families, and communities struggling to understand how someone can simply disappear. Well, tonight I'll examine what happened to Destinee Bruce, revisit the disappearances of Madeline Tomlin and Mercedes Toliver, and explore why these cases continue to cast a long shadow over Southwest Arkansas. Let's start with the evening of August 30th, 2025. The day 30-year-old Destinee Bruce walked out of her home in Hope, Arkansas, and stepped into what would become a mystery that remains unsolved nearly a year later. According to investigators, Destinee was last seen around 9 p.m. when she reportedly left with a man from Hope in the Prescott area. Authorities believe they departed in a black Mitsubishi Endeavor displaying Arkansas license plate BEV20F. At that time, there was no indication that the evening would become significant. There were no flashing signs, no immediate reports of danger, and no reason for alarm. It appeared to be a routine departure from home, the kind that happens every day in communities all across America. Then, Destinee stopped communicating. Days passed without confirmed contact. Family members became concerned. Investigators began attempting to establish a timeline. And somewhere between that moment she left home and the days that followed, the trail disappeared. Today, Destinee remains missing. Welcome to She Seeks Justice. I'm LaDonna Humphrey. And as I began researching Destinee's disappearance, I found myself asking a question that extended beyond her case alone. It's a question that has lingered over Southwest Arkansas for years. How does a woman disappear from a small town and seemingly vanish without a trace? Hope, Arkansas is not a major city. It's not a place where millions of people move anonymously through crowded streets. It's a community where families know one another, where generations often remain rooted in the same area, and where people tend to recognize familiar faces. When someone disappears from a place like Hope, the impact is immediate and personal. The missing person is not simply another name on a news broadcast. She is someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's friend, someone people know. Yet Destinee Bruce is not the first woman to disappear from Hope. 10 years before Destinee vanished, 25-year-old Madeline Renee Tomlin disappeared from the same community. Madeline was reported missing in May of 2015, and more than a decade later, her family is still waiting for answers. Investigators have spent years pursuing leads, evaluating information, and searching for evidence that might explain what happened to her. And despite those efforts, the central mystery remains unsolved. She left behind family members who continue to live with uncertainty. They're forced to navigate this difficult reality that comes with loving someone whose fate remains unknown. The similarities between the two cases are difficult to ignore. Both women disappeared from the same small Arkansas community. Both cases generated concern among local residents. Both investigations have extended far beyond the initial days when authorities hoped answers might come quickly, and both families continue searching for the truth. Law enforcement has never publicly stated that the cases are connected, and there is no evidence establishing a relationship between them. So I just want to make that clear up front. But still, when multiple women disappear from the same small town over a relatively, short period of time, people naturally begin asking questions. But unfortunately, the story doesn't end there. Just a short drive west of Hope sits the town of Prescott. And in December of 2016, 18-year-old Mercedes Toliver disappeared after leaving her home shortly after midnight. Family members believe she was walking to her aunt's house nearby. It wasn't a long journey, and it was not a trip that should have attracted attention. Yet Mercedes never arrived. Unlike many missing persons cases involving teenagers, Mercedes had clear plans for her future. She had graduated from high school and was preparing to join the United States Air Force. Friends and family described her as intelligent, creative, and focused on the future that she was building for herself. And when she vanished, she left behind not only unanswered questions, but also a future that would never unfold. And all of these years later, Mercedes remains missing. 3 women, 3 disappearances, 2 neighboring communities separated by less than 20 miles, and 3 families still searching for answers. It is important to be clear about what this does and does not mean. As I've stated before, there is no public evidence linking the disappearances of Madeline, Mercedes, and Destinee, and suggesting a connection without evidence would be irresponsible and unfair to the investigations. But at the same time, these cases reveal something troubling about how disappearances affect small communities. When a woman disappears from a large city, the case can become one among many. In a small town, every disappearance leaves a lasting imprint. People remember where they were when they heard the news. They remember seeing missing posters. They remember community searches, social media campaigns, and conversations that continued long after the news cameras left. Years later, the names remain familiar. And that is certainly true in Hope. For investigators, missing persons cases present unique challenges. Unlike homicide investigations, there is often no crime scene. There may be no physical evidence establishing what happened. There may be no witnesses who observed a crime. And investigators are frequently forced to build timelines from scattered fragments of information, attempting to determine where a person went, who they were with, and what occurred after they were last seen. In Destinee's case, the black Mitsubishi remains one of the most important pieces of publicly available information. Authorities have repeatedly emphasized the significance of that vehicle and the possibility that someone may remember seeing it on the night of August 30th, 2025. What seems insignificant in the moment often becomes critically important later. Maybe it's a vehicle parked somewhere unusual, a conversation overheard at a convenience store, a social media exchange, a brief encounter that felt ordinary at the time. Many cold cases are solved because someone eventually realizes that a detail they once dismissed actually matters. As of today, Destinee Bruce remains missing. Her family continues searching. Investigators continue seeking answers. And somewhere in southwest Arkansas, there may be individuals who possess information they have never shared. If you know anything about the disappearance of Destinee Bruce, investigators encourage you to contact the Hope Police Department at 870-777-3434, or you can contact Detective Eric Green at 870-722-2563. For the families of Destinee Bruce, Madeline Tomlin, and Mercedes Toliver, the passage of time has not diminished the need for answers. Their stories remain unfinished. Their loved ones remain missing, and the communities they left behind continue waiting for the day when uncertainty is finally replaced with truth. This is LaDonna Humphrey, and this has been She Seeks Justice.